Hey everyone, if you're looking for the free dog school, you are in the right place. I'm Lisa Freeman and I'm the owner of Chelsy's Toys, and I am so incredibly excited to start this whole dog school training with you. Andrea and I, with Pack Animals, have been working on this for the last several weeks, and we finally correlated with back to school and thought this was an exciting moment for your dogs to go back to school. So you are joining us on week 1 of our training. We have about 6 weeks planned out, and we'll extend that longer if you guys think this is something that you're going to love. And I believe, here we go. Andrea is just coming in, so we're going to wave hi. And I'll bring you up in just a second, Andrea. So I just wanted to introduce myself just a little bit. Again, my name is Lisa Freeman. And I started this business in 2006. So I've been doing it for about 17 years now. And I call myself a dog toy professional because I really don't know what else to call myself. I've been doing research and making toys for dogs and cats. We've ventured into small animals. And now it's time to help train your dogs to use these products. And we've brought on Andrea with Pack Animals because we believe in her methods. She's a fear-free, I believe that's what we would call it. She can explain a little bit, but she's fear-free training, which aligns exactly with our kind of training at home and our methodologies. So stay with us today. We're going to be here for 30-45 minutes at max, and I'm going to bring up Andrea. We're going to have her introduce herself, and then we're going to go from there and ask some questions. So let's get Andrea up. All right, we should have her coming up soon. There we go. Accept. There we go.
Great. Hi.
Hi. Let me readjust my camera a little bit. So yeah, welcome. This is so exciting. We finally made it to live.
Yes, we did. Thank you for having us on, Lisa, and I'm looking forward to this dog school series with you.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and Pack Animals.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Andrea Bassett. Some of you might know me from my other account, Maggie Lead the Way. Maggie is our inspiration for everything we've done. She inspired me to become a dog trainer. She's inspired my husband and I to co-found Pack Animals and to try to reach a broader audience of dog parents out there who are wanting to do the best for their dogs that they can. And so I am studying through Animal Behavior College to be a Lima trainer. So Lima is a type of training that starts with positive reinforcement. And we'll talk through, today's live about different styles of training. And this is one that feels pretty encompassing and demonstrates the importance of understanding your dog's need and training for the dog that's in front of you. So, learning how to train a dog is actually quite an involved process that I wanted to gain the knowledge and experience through mentorship that this program, Animal Behavior College, provides. After starting, my journey of becoming a dog trainer, I had conversations with my husband. We also identified an opportunity and a need to reach a broader range of people than just one-on-one training can. And so we are currently developing a platform called Pack Animals. It's a science-backed wellness platform that harnesses the power of the dog-human bond to improve health and wellness in both. And we're doing so by collaborating with researchers to bridge the gap between these really fascinating scientific studies that are done and the needs of the everyday dog parent. And so along the way, definitely having lots of amazing conversations and with people like yourself that have really interesting products that are important to that bond that we share with our dogs and learning how to interact with them, as well as with the dog parents themselves. So I'm really looking forward to being able to share our shared perspective with this audience, and hopefully be able to impart some knowledge of ways that we can better interact with our dogs to harness that bond.
Yes, and I think a lot of people are intimidated by, the whole concept of dog training in general, and they feel like they need to have external help or get a trainer to come into the home. But I think it really does start with simple actions, simple little actions that you can do building blocks. And before you know it, you're implementing training when you're not really intending to implement training, right? From a dog's or owner perspective.
That's very true. And also, when it comes to even when you interact with a trainer, having the knowledge of a trainer is often for two reasons. One, you're wanting to get experience that will help you achieve certain goals more quickly, or two, you don't know where to start. There are a lot of different resources out there. Lots of people say they use YouTube. But then when they interact with me or with other trainers, whether it's in a group class or one-on-one, they recognize how we are able to adapt to the needs of the individual. But that's not going to really achieve lasting behavior change unless you're willing to take it home and do the homework and understand the needs of the dog in front of you. And so, yes, that's where it's not one or the other, it's both.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have a few questions that I'll ask you, and then we do have a few questions from our viewers if you're ready.
Yeah, sounds great.
Of course, we're all about playtime toys, and so from a trainer's perspective, why is playtime an important part of training?
That is a great question. So to answer this question, I'm going to just give a little bit of background. The way that we think about interacting with our dogs today and what we expect of our dogs today is very different than it was even 10 years ago. And so when I've spoken with people and I've asked them if they've had a dog before, some will respond, oh yes, I had a dog growing up, but it is so different having a dog now. And part of that is because what we expect of our dogs today, to go out for walks with us on the street, to go with us into public places, to go for hikes on leash or off leash, is quite different than the dogs that many of us grew up with that just were in our backyards or in our beds at home. The need for training and play and understanding is very different now than it was back then. So I just want to set that background, as well as to say that what we've learned about dog cognition has evolved significantly too. Training methods have evolved. We now know that alpha theory has been debunked. So whenever I hear someone say, oh, I need to be the alpha to my dog, I quickly remind them that that is no longer accurate. The person actually who was responsible for that finding originally quickly came back and said, no, you guys completely misunderstood me. And also the study was not based on a representative sample of dogs, of wolves. And so what was observed as trying to assert dominance was in fact the wolves being stressed. And so this is really important for us when we think of what our dog needs. Yeah. And that also means that questions compulsive training, that questions the need for force, that questions a variety of different theories that people have put out there in terms of what they need to do to teach their dog. And so that context is really important for the people out there who think, I need to dominate my dog. Why would I do play with them? And so I wanted to set that background to say, because of all of this knowledge we have gained, we now know that understanding our dog and learning how to communicate with them and encourage them and motivate them in the way that we, there is some challenge to anthropomorphizing, but there's also a challenge to not understanding the similarities we share with our dogs because they did domesticate to be with us.
Right.
And so in the same way that we are motivated through play, we are motivated through a variety of different reasons. But one of them is, going to a concert is a form of play. Going to, a mini golf course is a form of play. going for to a soccer game is another form of play, right? So dogs and humans are motivated by a variety of different things, and play is one of them. The benefits of using play for learning is because it can turn a challenging task into something that is positive and enjoyable and can overcome anything else that you are needing to, that's serving as a distraction. So for example, using, oh, thank you for the comment. Using tug as a form of play can actually help with recall. And so we can go into more of that either today or in a future session of like ways that these toys can help with achieving training goals. And so, yeah, having, oh, Maggie sees the toy. She's like, are we going to play now? She's right down here.
Bizarre.
Yeah. So incorporating play can help us make it a fun, encouraging, motivating environment that doesn't have to rely just on treats, but it's another form of reward and incentive for your dog to engage with you as the fun, person who brings play in their life. In the same way that a parent who wants their child to, get off of their phone will say, hey, let's go for a road trip. That's a form of play.
Right. Yeah, so there's no leader of the pack anymore, huh?
There is not. Let's scream that, please, from like the rafters for all of the world to hear. There is no leader of the pack.
So right before we get to the next question, I wanted to tell our fans, maybe you can invite some of your friends by using the little airplane and sending this live to them via DM, and that'll kind of invite them to join us today. So here's the next question for you. What are the different training styles that you can explain with the fear-free and kind of what that means, the whole fear-free method?
Yeah, so there are a variety of different ways that dogs and humans learn. It's and even beyond that, it's just generally learning methods. And so when it comes to fear-free, and also a lot of people hear about like fear-free, force-free, positive reinforcement, balanced, aversives. There are a lot of different words out there that understandably people are going to get confused by. I'm even confused. Like I will look at someone's website or see what they're posting, and then I'll really have to follow along to understand what tools are they encouraging, at what point are they encouraging different things. So to communicate the style that I train with and we'll be talking about here is a combination of positive reinforcement. So there are two styles. So positive reinforcement is, for example, I will use a human example here that we can relate to hopefully a little more closely. Okay. So imagine that I want my husband to do the dishes. And let's say he goes ahead and does the dishes without my asking, or maybe with my asking, but he does the action that I want, which is the dishes. And I know he really enjoys watching a movie together or spending some time after dinner, watching TV, watching a movie, just having some chill time. In those cases, let's say he does the dishes, I will go to him after when he is done or almost done. Not too long after. Timing is important. He's like washing his last dish. And I will say, hey, honey, I found this movie or show, or guess what? Billions is back on TV. Oh my God, we're going to watch this. He's going to say, oh, great. And then for him, he will build a positive association over time between he's doing the dishes and then afterwards I acknowledge it and I have something that he enjoys afterwards. So that is positive reinforcement. That is when there's a behavior I want, like the dishes done, or my dog walking on a heel at my side, and I'm providing a reward for that behavior being completed, whether it's finding that TV show my husband wants us to watch together, or rewarding my dog at my side with a treat that they will value in that moment, or with positive praise, like yes, which is a marker word I've developed value around. The other thing though, what happens if my husband is sitting on the couch and the dishes are waiting and I am starting to stew and I am not sure if he is actually going to go do them and he's already watching TV. Well, I want to stop a behavior I don't want, which is him watching TV, right? To be able to get a behavior I want. So I will take away the remote, turn off the TV. And so I'll take away the thing he wants, which is the TV, to stop a behavior I don't want, which is him watching it.
Okay.
And so that is another form of training. So where you have positive reinforcement, you have negative punishment. And it can sound complicated, which is why I like to use this kind of analogy. The really, really important thing, though, with using negative punishment is to follow it back up with positive reinforcement. So when it comes to tug toys, if you want to stop your dog from biting on something or from this biting on this toy, you need to do something that takes away the thing that you want, the behavior you do not want, to stop. Sorry, you need to take away the thing the dog wants to stop a behavior you do not want. So in the example of my husband, to bring it back to be a little simpler, my husband was watching TV. I did not want him watching TV because I wanted him doing the dishes. I will take away the TV remote from him to stop him from watching TV. So then he goes over to do the dishes. And after he finishes doing the dishes, I reward him with the TV remote again and say, hey, let's continue watching this. So that combination and that kind of mindset is something we can apply to ourselves in our daily lives.
Yeah. I think you gave us some homework to do with our husbands.
Yes. Yeah. So that is effectively that's the mindset we will be carrying forward in our lessons and how to teach our dogs to use these different tools.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's that when you put it in human terms, it makes total sense, right? So one more shout out to our fans here. We got some more people coming in. Thank you for joining us. And again, if you want to invite your friends, you just use this little airplane icon in the lower right-hand corner, and that goes right to their DMs and invite them in. All right, so one more question here. What is a misconception people have about tug toys or snuffle bags?
In general, I think people believe that they just give it to their dog or like give their dog a toy and their dog knows how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
If you give a baby a pen or a marker and they're near a wall, or you give them a piece of paper without any guidance, I mean, that would be an interesting experiment. How often are they going to go onto the big white canvas wall versus that small piece of paper? So a misconception is that you can just expect your dog to know how to use anything you give them without training them on what the good behavior looks like with the thing you're giving them. So like I'll give Maggie, a snuffle ball or the snuffle mat, and teaching her in the beginning how to use her nose for it and how to sniff between rather than pull is something that I had to train her to do. And many of us have to teach our dogs what good behavior looks like. Actually, a quote would be my mentor trainer through Animal Behavior College. Her name is Donna Lee of Flexible Pet Solutions. And in our very first meeting, before I started my externship with her, she said, when dogs are deciding what to do, they'll look at two things. One, training, and if training's not there, instinct. And so that's important for us to think about when we're getting anything for our dogs.
And that instinct is to destroy, right? It's to take apart and destroy. So that is the exact reason why we're getting together and doing this training, is we want to teach our customers and our fans exactly how to use our products. One of the questions and responses I usually get is, don't you think this my dog's going to chew this up, or I think he's just going to chew it up, and they put it down and walk away. So what I want to do, and what Andrea is going to help me do here, is teach you how to teach your dog how to use all the products, and to include probably half of your toy box, because we're spending great money on our products and our toys for our dogs, and they should be a little bit more respectful. If you would. All
Yeah.
right, so those were the questions that I had set for you from a dog toy professional perspective. We did have a couple questions come in from our fans, and this is our first one. Says, my dog gets super amped up when the tug toy comes out. No matter what I say, he will not let go. Should I not use a tug toy anymore?
That is a really good question. So some dogs, so I guess back to the instinct, it varies. It varies by a lot of different things. I mean, some breeds of dogs will have certain behaviors that others don't. So, I mean, it's maybe a combination of training and breed. Maggie is not a super tugger, but I think if I look back at it, part of it has to do with how I trained her to let go of the tug toy when she was a puppy. And so when your dog, if you have a dog that gets really amped up with a tug toy, my next question would be, what else do they get amped up by? If it's just the tug toy, then there to be something to do with the way you've built an association between them and that toy, or what they expect from that toy. And so I would start with the human and ask, what have you done with the tug toy in the past that has gotten your dog to respond in that kind of over enthusiasm kind of way? And then I would ask, are there any other kind of examples of times when your dog gets really amped up? I would also then say, no, you don't have to just put it away entirely, but you can help your dog build a different association. I'm intentionally not using the word positive, because positive and negative is relative. You can teach your dog to have a different association with that tug toy, or with other things, and work on things like their impulse control. And so whether it's a tug, whether it's something else, if a dog is so amped up with anything coming out, then helping them understand how to manage their impulses is where I would start working with you.
And to be honest, I think a lot of people don't realize is your mimics your energy. So if you're real excited and your high pitched voice, and then your dog gets excited too. So I think that's a great example.
Yeah, and thank you for adding that, because body language plays a very large part in how our dogs engage or disengage from something. And so there are ways that, like, when we go through the tug part, we'll talk about ways to get your dog to disengage. But yes, the way you are presenting is something that your dog is feeding off of, and then what your dog is feeding to you, you're feeding off of, and it becomes a whole loop. So yeah, that's where my answer would not be don't use the tug anymore, but learn how to use the tug differently, understand the way you are presenting yourself to your dog, and ways to change that association.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited to get started next week. Okay, here's another question from our viewer. I have one more. I work from home and sometimes get stuck in tons of meetings and get stressed when my dog needs attention, but my boss is breathing down my neck. But if I give my dog a snuffle bag, she'll just pull at it. What can I do? This is very common these days.
Yeah. Yep. Work from home life. I mean, Maggie has her bed right there. So she likes to go here, my husband's office, downstairs. She can kind of like roam around and find her own. But every once in a while, yeah, she'll come to me too. And she'll just right here sit down and then be like looking at me and maybe just remind me I'm here. And sometimes it'll be because I spoke in a more exasperated tone and she's like coming up to check on me. When it comes to teaching your dog how to use a snuffle mat or a snuffle ball, like I said, there's you can't expect them to know how to use it from the start. So if your dog is, just pulling at it, then that means in those times when you are not working, you can build up your dog's skill around how to use the mat. You can start out by doing things like just putting the treats on top and have your dog learn that they don't need to, pull at it, right? Like ultimately to make these things enriching, they need to use their smell and it needs
Hmm.
to be a little bit harder to get into it. But you don't start by hiding the treats in here because if they're hidden in here, then the dog might get frustrated and start pulling, sure. But, before you're in the middle of your busy work day, when you are engaging with your dog in the in between times or like after dinner or before dinner, you can just teach them how to use it by putting the treats on the top and letting them just eat the treats. And then they learn that they're not supposed to be pulling at this, but they're supposed to be going for the treats. And then you might put them slightly farther in and then a bit farther in. And ultimately, they will learn that they are meant to go after the treats, not after the material. That's part one. Part two, though, is please don't leave your dog alone with these. I mean, even at the end, when a dog finishes going after the treats, there might still be some scent in there. There might still be some crumbs. And your dog is not going to know to stop going after those, especially since you were just asking them to use their sniffer.
Hmm.
Okay. Speaking in a more animated tone, just like, um,
Good human.
so yeah, this, like if I were to use this with Maggie during my workday, I would put it in my office next to me. That way I'm able to do my work, but I'm also able to, keep an eye on her from the side and see how she's doing with it. Um, and so, yeah, I think that one, teach your dog what behavior you want them to do with a snuffle mat. Two, have the snuffle mat in your visibility area. That way you don't like finish your meeting and find that, things are pulled out and oh gosh, why did my dog pull at it? It's like, well, they didn't know when to stop
Yeah.
because there was still smell in there. um, and I mean, three, you can do more, right? It's like when the dog finishes with the snuffle mat, like just turn to them, give them some love, like have your bond right there, like, grow where you're giving your dog some attention. Maybe you end up, doing things like some puppy push-ups where you have them go down, wait, come back up, give them a treat, go down, etc. So, you can use a combination of these things, which also, like if you find your dog starts going after this, but is still impatient, well, before they finish the snuffle bag, bring them to you, do some push-ups with them, and then send them back to the snuffle mat, and then bring them back to you, do some push-ups. So it's not just about using a tool and expecting your dog to do it entirely on their own. It's about understanding how you and your dog work together with that tool.
Yes. And this is, we're going to get a lot deeper into these methods with these products in the upcoming
Yes,
lives.
definitely.
Yeah.
A little pre. I can't help but providing some at times.
No, I think it's all great information, and it makes a lot of sense the way you're presenting it.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, I touched on and I like, shown a variety of your different products that, you've spent a lot of time and love and developed a lot of expertise around. Can you walk us through your, line of enrichment toys and tell us what makes them different? That way we know what to look forward to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So my tug toy was the original invention of the actual business, and this is the product that's patented, and it's patented for a reason. It's just there's not a way to do this without being handmade. So every product that we have is handmade by women from my community. We currently have about a dozen women who help me assemble these toys, and they're all hand tied. And one unique thing about the tugs is as you're tugging on these ends, all of these knots that proceed are actually getting tighter. And should you get through or bite through a section of this toy, it's not just going to unravel like those traditional rope toys. Um, it's not. There's all kinds of knots behind there that are reinforcing it. So it's a long lasting product in that regard. And we have not, we've since developed a couple more styles. You have the one, this is the one that Maggie enjoys. This is just a straight spiral toy, and it's about 20 inches long. And we made this one because actually accidentally, this is actually a Frisbee in the making. We then will adhere this and secure this for the Frisbee. But my dogs snagged one before it was actually assembled, and I have two pitty mixes. They took it out in the back and they had about an hour's worth of fun. And it was fascinating to watch them because there was a lot of room for them both to come and play together. And then when they move with it, it's so long that the other one would get interested. So I put it up as a product, and it seems to be a very good toy for multiple dogs and light. So I have this like almost spectrum of tuggers. I have light tuggers and then heavy tuggers. And I have pit bulls, and those are heavy tuggers because they're just strong. And this is the toy that we created for them. So it's almost like let me get in focus, two of our regular spirals combined into one so that you can use two hands to tug and get that center of leverage and have a great experience and not feel like your dog's going to rip your arm off. So those are the tug toys that we enjoy here, and we make them in all sizes to include our little guys. Right?
Aww.
Like for 2 fingers for your little chihuahuas in them.
What is the weight range for that size?
This, I would say, we're looking at like maybe 25 pounds max. And what I enjoy about these is we can assemble them together. Any two toys that you have in the house that have the handles, you can assemble them together to make a longer tug. And so our
Oh,
super,
slides through.
yeah, yeah. So
Very
that's
cool.
something I realized. And so, yeah, we have all kinds of different toys, and they're all made with my patented system. Now, with the snuffles, we did come up with a snuffle ball, and this has little sections on the inside where you can shove in treats, or you could put in something that's straight, like a rawhide or a pig's feet or whatever you have. And then the snuffle bags is kind of what you were talking about. We have two sizes. This is the small, and we do have a large.
Wow.
So about double the size. This is fantastic for the bigger dogs, the Great Danes. I have some customers that eat their entire dinner out of here. But what makes our bags unique is that first, they're not incredibly heavy, which is what those DIY kind of projects presented, a very heavy product. So we kind of redesigned it into a sack. And all of our snuffle bags you can close up. And so in this regard, you can kind of take it on the go. You could preload it and just have it ready. And this all gets shoved in the center. And have it pre-ready for any situation that you may not haven't expected. If you have sometimes an unexpected visitor, you want your dog to kind of do something while you chat, and that's a great, or even on a walk with your dog. So it's a great travel companion, this small one is.
Hmm. That is a great line. And I mean, yeah, feeding, especially for the dogs that eat quickly. I mean, teaching them an alternative to the slow feeder would be having the snack bag I mean, I could see that being a really cool way to feed your dog on the go and to be
Mm-hmm.
able to close it up. I will say Maggie is one of those eaters who needs a lot of treats in there, but that'll be interesting for us to try out what it's like. I mean, we have to like incentivize her to eat kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But I'll experiment with seeing how she does if it's made into a game. Back to your very first question about play.
And those are some things in our later weeks of school here that I want to explore is different ways you can use these products for different types of training, right? So like you're kind of saying, if you have a finicky eater, turn it into a little bit more of the game and learn how to get yourself all the way into a normal feed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Nice. So yeah, what do you think people can look forward to us covering next week?
Yeah, so next week, I think we're going to do some overall training. We'll kind of get a little bit deeper into what we talked about today. And we'll be actually using either a tug toy or a snuffle bag in some of our talking. So this may be something that the fans want to have on hand um, for next week. But for this week, are we gonna be able to kind of give them a little bit of something to write for homework?
Yeah, we can. So I think it depends on what people have, but either way, I think it's a matter of working on building like a piece of homework for this week can be working on building an awareness of what your dog's needs are and
Okay.
ways that you can help teach them the behaviors you're looking for. So people know about positive reinforcement and all, but try to make it more of a mindful practice around teaching your dog a new behavior. So when it comes to tug, something that you can work on is teaching your dog how to engage and disengage. And tug can be a great way and also help people introduce play into their training where you have your dog, take it and then you use your body language to have them play. And then you can bring out some other reward and say, drop it, and give them the reward once they drop it. If they're not dropping it, then that just tells you you might need to find something of higher value because your dog is really enjoying the play with you. Or you might just think about how you are presenting yourself. As you said, what's your body language? What's your tone of voice? Are you saying, oh, yeah, woo, 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 and then, okay, yeah, versus like, kind of stopping your play and then saying, okay, drop it, right? It's a very different tone. So practicing your tone of voice, practicing your understanding of what your dog's needs are, could be something that people work on this week, or just building general awareness of if you don't feel comfortable bringing the tug in, especially that person who said that their dog goes crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe that person doesn't do this. That person just develops an awareness of how they speak with their dog in different tones of voice and develop a more mindful awareness of rewarding their dog for the behaviors they want.
Nice. I like that. I like that you're teaching your dog to start to tug and to stop to tug, right? It's a stop and a stop, or a start and a stop. So yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that'll wrap up kind of what we had planned out for our first class. So it sounds like everybody may have a little bit of homework to do and just kind of basically just engaging in your dog a little bit more. And one thing that I do want to I'm not going to say what you just said was once you do are able to disengage your dog from that stop moment, so make sure you have that command word, right? Important that you associate that next treat or that next reward with a command so that you can remove that treat eventually.
Yeah, so next time we'll talk about the value of marker words. So, for example, let's say at the end of this live, if you and I just simply went about our day and didn't say a single thing to each other, we might be like, well, I think that went well. I think we covered what she wanted to cover. I think we asked good questions. Versus if we kind of say, good job, or great, or thanks for joining, things like that. But see, thanks for joining leaves a lot to the imagination. Like, was that really what you wanted? Versus good job is different. And so with our dogs, back to the point of reward and motivation varying based on the dog in front of you, also varies by human. So yeah, in this week, understand how you are marking that behavior for your dog when you're using a treat, and make sure that you're pairing it with something else. So pair it with a good or a yes, something that's different than your everyday. Because if I just said to you, good job, you would not respond the same as if I said, good job.
The tone of voice.
Yeah, so this goes back to in this week thinking about how you are speaking with your dog how you are presenting your voice to your dog and rewarding them for the behaviors you're looking for um, is going to be really helpful for the next session.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to the next couple of weeks. So if you guys end up starting to train and working with your dogs and you do have some questions that you want us to answer next week, give us a DM and we'll send you a link to the form that you can fill out, and we'll have some of those answered for you. And if we do bring your question on live, you get a free gift from me.
Yeah.
So if you any of your questions today, DM me and you will get your free gift. So we had 2 fans come in today, and so we're going to wrap it up now and say thank you to everybody. And you, Andrea, thank you so much. Would you like to say any closing remarks?
I would just like to say thank you.
Right?
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Everyone, next week, the tentative date is same time next week this time, but keep an eye on our profile pages and our feeds to schedule the next live.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Good, everyone.
Bye.